All right, welcome back to another episode of the Casey Campbell Podcast. Casey Campbell with you, of course, and we are pleased to be joined by the Director of Communications for the Detroit Grand Prix, Mr. Merrill Cain. Merrill, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure, Casey. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so if you haven't heard the announcement today from the Detroit Grand Prix, they were going to originally do 2 weekends, IMSA being the first and then IndyCar being the second. But now it's going to be all combined that second week of June. Because of the postponement of the 24 Hours of Le Mans. That offers IMSA the chance to go down in that second weekend, and it also gives the opportunity for the GTLM cars to come on the island, including Corvette racing. Merrill, what was it? Was it basically just the postponement of Le Mans that really went into this decision?
Yeah, I think that really opened the door, Casey, and a good way to describe it and reset it there. So I appreciate that. Yeah, when we first brought the Grand Prix back in 2021, and first off, we're very excited to come back and get onto beautiful Belle Isle, as you kind of see here with the background. We're looking forward to get back there and host a great weekend, June 11th through the 13th. When we first announced the race was coming back in 2021 after the postponement last year, it was a 2-weekend format because of the availability of the IndyCar Series, NTT IndyCar Series, and also the Indy Lights presented by Cooper Tires is going to join us for this year as well. But because of Le Mans and the way that shook out with the schedule, a lot of the teams in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship like to compete over Le Mans, at least giving them the opportunity to do so. So we separated the weekend, as you pointed out, June 5th, Saturday, June 5th was going to be the IMSA race weekend, but with the race in Le Mans being pushed back until August, it did give the opportunity for us to try to work with IMSA to combine the weekend and bring it back onto one as we have in the past. So in this world and in this day and age when there's so much that's not normal, and we're certainly still going to experience that and feel that at the Grand Prix this year, it is nice to get back to what we consider kind of a traditional weekend where sports cars and Indy cars are racing together in the Motor City. So we're excited to welcome IMSA back, and it'll be a traditional 3-day weekend now. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and we're excited to have IMSA, the NTT IndyCar Series, which again will be back with the Duel in Detroit, Chevy Duel in Detroit on Saturday and Sunday, and as I mentioned, really excited to have the Indy Lights presented by Cooper Tires Championship that's going to be racing with us, and they'll race 2 races as well over the course of the weekend on Saturday and Sunday. So good lineup, great lineup for the first event back since 2019 on Belle Isle.
Yeah, of course, the Indy Lights series is back on the island for the first time since 2012, the first year that the Grand Prix was brought back after in and out of since 2008. But really, what was it like to have them back on for Indy Lights? Basically, these are the guys that you're going to be possibly looking towards as the next stars of IndyCar. It's what the road to Indy is.
Yeah, we're really excited to have the road to Indy back. It just, with the packed race weekend that we've had in the last few years, it just hasn't been much of an opportunity to have Lights back. But it was a priority for us to try and bring them back on the island. Obviously, we've seen some of the most recent stars of IndyCar, not the least of which Joseph Newgarden, Alex Palou, is to name a few of the guys who have been kind of raised up and come up through the ladder system here and have come up and started racing in Indy cars and have really established themselves. Rinus VeeKay, a lot of these guys have really shown their skills in Lights and moved up to the IndyCar level. So we're excited to kind of try to continue that tradition and have these guys back racing with us on Belle Isle. It's a tough street circuit, as everybody knows, bumpy, tight, very technical, challenging for drivers. And, I think it's a great opportunity for those rising stars, those young drivers that we hope we're going to see up in Indy cars and within the next couple of years get a chance to really test themselves in a tough street circuit like we're going to see on Belle Isle. So we're excited to have them back in 2 race weekends or 2 races in one weekend, much like the Indy cars where they'll compete on Saturday and Sunday. So yeah, we're happy to have them back on Belle
Isle. For in Indy cars purposes, there's going to be a lot of names that on the island that are making their debut, and a lot of big names too, from Scott McLaughlin to Jimmy Johnson to Roman Grosjean. Also, Kevin Magnussen's going to be on the island in competing with IMSA. What's it going to be like to have all these names on the island that people recognize from F1 to Australian supercars to NASCAR?
Yeah, I mean, you hit it. There's some great international names there. Some guys who have really established themselves as stars in other racing series, who we are so excited to have on Belle Isle and give our fans a chance to see these guys up close and personal, and really kind of establish themselves as maybe the new generation of drivers that we're going to see, establish some dominance on Belle Isle. So yeah, we're excited to have them. I mean, you talk about it from McLaughlin, who was really a dominant force in supercars and is really, from everything we've seen, off to a really good start. For Indy Cars, we got a chance to race in the season finale last year in St. Petersburg, and I know everyone's excited to see what he can do for Team Penske this year. Really happy to have Jimmy Johnson, racing in Detroit, such an established name, 7-time champion in NASCAR, and getting a great opportunity with the Ganassi team and Grosjean, as you talk about, Magnussen. I mean, there's really going to be a lot of stars for people to see and get a chance to kind of prove what they can do on this Belle Isle circuit. So yeah, I think we're excited. I mean, it's after last year and not having the event on Belle Isle, we were going to be excited anyway to have racing back in Detroit, right? But when you add all these stars, the fact that we can combine it all on one great race weekend, we haven't even talked about having Corvette back on the island, right? That's another big reason for us to be excited. So I think all the stars are aligning here for what we hope is going to be a great Detroit Grand Prix weekend, June 11th through the 13th, and man, we're fired up about it.
You mentioned Corvette. That was actually going to be my next question. Corvette racing back on the island, first time since 2008 that they are back, and obviously it worked out as you can see in the background behind you, that GM building, and that's big because I got the chance a few years ago to go down to Proctor and down to Pratt and Miller.
Pratt and Miller.
I had to think of it for a minute. Down to Pratt and Miller a few years ago, got to check out that place. How big is it to have Corvette racing down in Detroit racing?
No, it's huge. It's huge. And you mentioned it. So the Corvette brand last competed at the Chevrolet Detroit Grand Prix presented by Lear. 2016 was the last time, because they actually had the Corvette DPIs that competed on Belle Isle as part of the IMSA WeatherTech Championship. So we've had Corvettes as recently as 2016, but as you mentioned, we haven't had the GT cars, those iconic, GT cars from Corvette Racing, from Pratt and Miller, from those iconic yellow cars that have been so dominant over the years. Haven't seen them race in Detroit since 2008. And a lot of that has to do with Le Mans, but just the way that our event shakes out, being around the same time as Le Mans. That team is over there preparing, competing, sometimes even testing for Le Mans during the time that we host our race in Detroit. So one of the best parts of the way the schedule's opened up for us this year with the postponement of Le Mans, meaning that Corvette, the hometown team, right, as you mentioned, right down the street, New Hudson, Metro Detroit, Corvette gets to come back and race with those cars. And the C8, right? Everybody knows how powerful that car is, how beautiful those cars are, the success that they had last year in IMSA, and off to a great start so far this year in 2021. So yeah, it's huge. We're really excited to have that. We know that there's a lot of great Corvette fans. The team, it being their hometown race for General Motors, and obviously our partner and our sponsor for the event, and also with Cadillac involved in IMSA, it's a great weekend. We're looking forward to, hopefully we get some great performances from the Cadillac guys as well as Corvette.
Yeah. So obviously, we're coming up to, it's going to be the second week of June. Obviously it's a few months down the road. And obviously
coming quick. Yep.
Yeah, it's going to be here before you know it. But we haven't really, have you guys been talking to the state on how many fans can be allowed and all that? Is there any updates on that? And when is the build-out process going to be starting up?
Yes, I'll answer the first question first, because honestly, it's a little easier, Casey. We know that it's the shortest amount of time that we've done in terms of the build-up, the execution of the race weekend, and the takedown of the event after Belle Isle. We're always challenged to try and do it as quickly as possible to make sure that we minimize any impact on other people who use the island. And it's the most beautiful island, we like to think, in the United States. And we want to make sure that people have an opportunity to use it and also get a chance to come and see the race. So 59 days is the total this year. Again, the shortest we've ever done it. But build-out won't start until much later and closer to the event. In terms of, yes, we have been talking with the state, local authorities. That's kind of been a constant conversation. And as we all know, with COVID and some of the results that we've seen lately, and thankfully we're seeing a lot more vaccinations. We're in the process of going through all of that, but still the numbers are still not where we want them to be. And it's a moving target, right? The governor announced the most recent guideline for events on Friday, and we're in the planning process and aligning with those guidelines and protocols. And really where it comes down to is we're going to align with whatever those local state protocols are when it comes time for the event, right? We're going to make plans and execute the event based on what those guidelines are now and move forward with that. But knowing that we may have to shift some things and move in some different directions as we get closer to the event if those protocols and those guidelines change. So it's a long way of saying, yes, we're going to continue to work with the state and local authorities to align with whatever protocols are in place, but to make sure that it's a safe, healthy Grand Prix and everyone has a positive experience. We know that obviously it's going to be fewer fans than we've had in years past. We're just excited that we're going to be able to have some fans and host an event on Buildout.
Okay, so typically during this year, typically during most of the time the Grand Prix, it's usually the first week of June. Now it's the second week of June. Typically, that's usually when the NASCAR MIS race is usually held. But now with NASCAR going to one race at MIS, are you kind of looking at maybe trying to appeal to fans if they are allowed, maybe NASCAR fans, to come to the island and get some from MIS that are used to going down there that time?
Hey, we love racing, right? And I think the fans in Detroit that come to MIS for the NASCAR races as well as come to Buildout, there's race fans in Detroit. We certainly welcome NASCAR fans. I think that we've shown that we've worked with MIS and the folks out there well in the past, and would like to continue to do that. So we welcome the fans, absolutely. I think the way the schedule shakes out, there is the opportunity for fans to attend both and not hopefully have to make a choice. I think there may be attendance restrictions at both because of the way things are going with COVID, but any fans that would like to try to get the best of both worlds, we welcome it, and we're certainly open for that opportunity.
All right. Merrill, Cain, thank you for spending a few minutes with me, and we'll be talking to you maybe in a few months to give us an update on how things are going.
Absolutely, Casey. Looking forward to hopefully seeing you on Buildout soon.